Risk management is the way we systematically deal with uncertainty in projects. The process of managing risk in projects is well understood and is documented in project management textbooks and by professional project management organizations. Some sources offer a 4-step or a 6-step process. Here I define the risk process in 5 steps. Generally, the process is the same, just separated in different ways depending upon the needs of the author. The first step in this 5-step process is to identify risks. In order to effectively identify risks, it's helpful to know where risks will come from for a specific project. Therefore, thinking about the various sources of risk will help to identify an associated range of risks that can affect the project. Different projects will draw from different sources. It is important to identify risks at all levels of a project. For example, risks relating to stakeholder requirements, risks resulting from product design, and risks affecting each activity in the work breakdown structure. Identification of risks might reveal a large quantity of risks, sometimes many thousands. Unless we have sufficient management effort available to manage a high quantity of risks, risks must be prioritized through a process of assessment. The first stage of risk assessment is to consider the potential damage done to the project if a risk was to occur. This is called the impact of the risk. Impact to a project can affect project timescales, cost, and performance to different degrees. For most projects, the goal of the risk assessment process is to determine whether we will invest management effort in dealing with a risk or not. A simple high, medium, and low assessment is usually sufficient for this purpose. Some projects have important safety and/or security considerations that might require more stringent assessment criteria. Some projects use statistical methods to provide a high level of accuracy for risk assessment. It's also important to assess the likelihood or probability that a risk will occur. For example, it is more likely to snow in Siberia than it is at the equator. Once risks have been assessed in terms of probability and impact, they can be prioritized. High priority risks will need to be carefully monitored and managed throughout the project. These risks will require development of specific management actions in the form of mitigation and contingency. Such actions are designed to deal with the risk, specifically seeking to reduce risk in terms of reducing probability of a risk occurring and the potential impact of the risk if it occurs. These actions are referred to as mitigation and will be performed whether the risk occurs or not. Contingency actions are developed to offer alternatives or a plan B that is only needed if the risk occurs. Once risks are identified, assessed and prioritized, with appropriate methods of dealing with them designed and included in the project plans, risks must be continuously monitored and managed through to the end of the project. There must be a management method for monitoring the status of each risk and taking appropriate management action, whether this is invoking contingency plans or closing down a risk. It is important to continually seek new risks and bring them into the risk process as early as possible so that they can be properly managed to avoid damage to the project. Risks must be monitored and managed as part of the periodic project review process. It is an important aspect of dealing with project uncertainty to effectively identify and assess risks at all levels. High priority risks must be carefully managed to reduce their effect on the project.